The real estate agent's heels clicked against our parents' hardwood floors like a metronome counting down to disaster. I stood frozen in the doorway, watching this stranger assess every corner of my childhood home with cold, calculating eyes. My sister Samantha's frantic call 20 minutes ago still echoed in my head. "Amelia, some woman is here to appraise the house. Did you know anything about this?" I didn't. But I knew exactly who did. "The original crown molding adds significant value," the agent said, scribbling in her notepad. "And these floors, despite their age, are in remarkable condition." "There must be some mistake," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "This house isn't for sale." She glanced up, perfectly shaped eyebrows arching. "Oh, your husband was quite clear about wanting a quick appraisal. He mentioned something about refinancing options." My stomach clenched. Ryan hadn't mentioned anything about refinancing. Then again, he hadn't mentioned a lot of things lately. "I see." I pulled out my phone, typing a quick message to Ryan. "We need to talk, now." The agent continued her tour, measuring rooms and taking photos while I trailed behind her like a ghost. Every flash of her camera felt like a violation. This was where Mom used to read to us during thunderstorms, where Dad taught me to dance before prom, where Samantha and I shared secrets late into the night. My phone buzzed. "Ryan." "At work. Can it wait?" "No." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Fine. Meet at Luigi's in 20. I found Samantha in the kitchen, clutching a coffee mug like a lifeline. Her daughter Chloe sat at the counter, homework spread before her, oblivious to the tension. "I'm meeting Ryan," I said. "Stay here in case she needs anything else." Samantha nodded, her eyes heavy with understanding. Since her divorce 6 months ago, she'd developed a sixth sense for marital troubles. "Be careful, Em." Luigi's was nearly empty when I arrived. Ryan sat in our usual booth, still in his construction gear, a half-empty coffee in front of him. He smiled when he saw me, that same easy smile that had won me over 12 years ago. Now it just made me angry. "Want to explain why there's a real estate agent appraising my parents' house?" I slid into the booth, keeping my voice low. "Our house," he corrected. "Your parents left it to both of us. They left it to Samantha and me. You're only involved because we're married." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Look, I was going to tell you. We need some capital for an investment opportunity. Mark showed me this amazing—" "Mark?" I cut him off. "Your gambling buddy, Mark?" "It's not gambling, it's strategic investing, and this is different. It's guaranteed returns, Em. We could double our money in 6 months." The waitress approached. Ryan waved her away without looking up. "That house is all Samantha has right now," I said. "She and Chloe need somewhere to live while she gets back on her feet. They can rent somewhere. This is our chance to get ahead." Our chance. The words hit me like a slap. I studied his face, the slight sheen of sweat on his forehead, the way his fingers tapped restlessly against his coffee cup. I'd seen these signs before, back when we first started dating and he'd promised he was done with the casinos. "How much do you owe?" He blinked. "What?" "How much, Ryan?" The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, he whispered, 150. "1,000?" He nodded. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "The appraisal stops now, and tomorrow I'm hiring someone to look into exactly what you've been doing with our money." "Amelia, wait!" But I was already walking away, my phone in hand, searching for private investigators. Behind me, I heard Ryan call my name again, but his voice was drowned out by the blood rushing in my ears and the memory of my father's words on his deathbed. "Take care of each other and take care of our home." I intended to do both. The front door slammed behind me as I entered our parents' house, the sound echoing through the hallway like a gunshot. Samantha looked up from her laptop at the kitchen table, her face tight with concern. The real estate agent was gone, but the violation of her presence lingered. $150,000, I said, dropping into the chair across from her. "That's how much he owes." Samantha's coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. "Jesus Christ, Em." And he wanted to use the house as collateral for more investments. With Mark Johnson, of all people. "Mark?" Samantha's eyes narrowed. "Isn't he the one who got Ryan into poker nights back when you were dating?" I nodded, remembering those early days when Ryan would come home at dawn, reeking of cigarettes and bad decisions. He'd sworn he was done with all that after we got married. I'd believed him. "Where's Chloe?" I asked, changing the subject. "Upstairs, doing homework. She likes using Mom's old desk by the window." Samantha's voice softened. "You know what she asked me yesterday? If we could plant flowers in the garden like Grandma used to?" The weight in my chest grew heavier. "Sam, I need to ask you something. Those final months before the divorce. How did you know Tom was lying about money?" She set down her coffee, something dark flickering across her face. "Little things at first. He'd changed the subject when I mentioned bank statements. Started getting his mail sent to work instead of home." She paused, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. "Then I found receipts from jewelry stores for things I'd never seen. Turned out he had a whole other life we knew nothing about. I should have seen this coming with Ryan." "Stop that." Samantha reached across the table, gripping my hand. "You're seeing it now. That's what matters." My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Coming home early. We need to talk about this. I can explain everything." I showed Samantha the message. She squeezed my hand tighter. "Stay here tonight." "I can't. I need to." "Need to what? Watch him lie to your face again?" She stood up, pacing the kitchen. "You know what Dad always said about trust?" "It's like glass," I finished. "Once it's broken, you'll always see the cracks." She stopped at the window, staring out at the garden where our mother's roses used to bloom. "I've got a guy, private investigator, used him during my divorce. He's expensive, but he's thorough. I already found one, Insight Investigations. Cancel it, use mine, trust me on this." Before I could respond, Chloe bounded down the stairs, clutching a piece of paper. "Aunt Em, look what I found in Grandma's desk." It was an old photograph, creased and yellowing. Mom and Dad on the front porch, young and laughing, paintbrushes in hand. The date on the back read "First Home Renovation, 1985. "They love this house," Chloe said, tracing the image with her finger. "Mom says it's got good bones." My phone buzzed again. "Ryan. Where are you? We need to talk now." I looked at the photo, then at Samantha and Chloe. My family. My real family. The decision crystallized in my mind like frost on a window. "Sam, can I use your investigator's number?" She was already reaching for her phone. "I'll do you one better. He's still got all his research on the poker rings in this area, including Mark Johnson's involvement." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say your husband's friend has a reputation for getting desperate men into very deep holes." She typed something into her phone. "And I bet if we start digging, we'll find out exactly how deep Ryan's goes." My phone buzzed a third time, but I didn't look at it. Instead, I watched Chloe carefully place the old photograph on the refrigerator, right next to her latest art project, a crayon drawing of our family, standing in front of the house that Ryan was so eager to leverage away. "Okay," I said, my voice steady. "Let's dig." The manila envelope sat between me and Detective Torres like a loaded gun. His office at Blake Investigations smelled of coffee and old files, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across his desk. "You might want to sit down for this," he said, tapping the envelope with weathered fingers. I remained standing. "Just tell me, your husband's debt isn't just to casinos. Mark Johnson runs an underground gambling network, high-stakes poker games, sports betting, the works. But that's not the worst part." He pulled out several documents. "Ryan's been forging your signature." The room tilted slightly. I gripped the back of the chair. "What?" "Second mortgage on your house, 3 maxed-out credit cards, a personal loan." Torres spread the papers across his desk like a deck of cards. "All with your forged signature." My signature stared back at me from multiple documents, each one a perfect counterfeit. I remembered Ryan watching me sign Christmas cards last December, hovering over my shoulder with unusual interest. "Total damages?" My voice sounded distant, hollow. "Including the gambling debts, close to $300,000. Double what he'd admitted to. The chair caught me as my knees buckled. "There's more," Torres said, pulling out his phone. "This was recorded at the Red Door bar last night." Ryan's voice filled the small office. "Just need another month, Mark. The house appraisal came in high. Once I convince Amelia about the refinancing." "You said that last month?" Mark's voice was casual, almost friendly. Remember our arrangement? Your construction company's contracts go through my businesses. If you can't pay, those contracts start disappearing. And then, how will you explain that to your crew? I'll get the money. You better, because next time it won't be just contracts disappearing. Torres stopped the recording. Mark Johnson's been investigated 3 times for assault. Charges never stuck. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Ryan's company employs 30 people. And Johnson knows that's your husband's weakness? He'll do anything to keep those people employed? Torres leaned forward. Mrs. Carter, I've seen this before. It only gets worse. My phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. Ryan's here at the house, looking for you. He's angry. Another message followed. Sent Chloe to her friends. Get here now. I have to go. I stood up, gathering the documents with trembling fingers. Mrs. Carter. Torres's voice stopped me at the door. There's a domestic violence shelter on 5th Street, just in case. I won't need it. They all say that. I drove to my parents' house with the radio off, my mind racing through 12 years of marriage, searching for signs I must have missed. The forged signatures felt like individual betrayals, each one a small death of trust. Samantha met me at the door, her face pale. He's in the kitchen. He found the investigator's card in your purse. Ryan's voice boomed from inside. Amelia, get in here. I handed Samantha the manila envelope. Call Torres if anything happens. It's okay. I squeezed her hand. I need to do this. Ryan stood at our parents' kitchen counter, his construction clothes still dusty from work. The investigator's card lay between his fingers. Having me followed? His voice was deadly quiet. Checking up on me like some criminal? Are we going to pretend I didn't need to? Everything I did was for us, to give us a better life. By forging my signature, by gambling away our future. He flinched. How did you? 300,000, Ryan. That's what you've really lost. Were you going to tell me before or after you got our family home involved in your mess? Mark can help us. Mark? I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign. I heard the recording. Your friend Mark is threatening you and you're still defending him? Ryan's face darkened. He took a step forward, then another. I held my ground even as my heart hammered against my ribs. You have no idea what you've done, he whispered. Behind him, through the kitchen window, I saw Samantha on the phone, Torres's card in her hand. In that moment, I realized there was no going back, only through. No, Ryan, I said, my voice steady despite my fear. You have no idea what I'm about to do. The police lights painted our parents' kitchen in alternating red and blue. 2 officers stood by their car while Ryan sat in the back seat, his face a mask of fury. Samantha had called them the moment he'd grabbed my arm. But now, watching him through the window, I felt hollow instead of vindicated. Detective Torres arrived just as the police car pulled away. You're lucky your sister was here, he said, studying the bruise forming on my wrist. Things could have gotten much worse. He's never been violent before. Desperate men do desperate things. Torres pulled out his phone, showing me a series of text messages. These came in from my contact at the bank. Ryan tried to transfer your joint savings this morning. All of it. My throat tightened. How much? 68,000. The bank flagged it because of the forged signatures we reported. The room swayed slightly. That money was meant for Chloe's college fund, a promise I'd made to my parents before they died. Samantha appeared with an ice pack. There's more, she said quietly. Show her Torres. He hesitated, then pulled up an email on his phone. Mark Johnson's been busy. 3 of Ryan's biggest construction contracts were suddenly canceled this afternoon. 48 workers affected. Jesus. I pressed the ice pack harder against my wrist, letting the cold numb more than just the bruise. Those families. It gets worse, Torres continued. Johnson's company is swooping in to take over the contracts. He's offering to hire Ryan's workers at half their current salary. The pieces clicked together like a terrible puzzle. He planned this. Mark set Ryan up to fail. Classic loan shark tactic, Torres agreed. Get someone desperate enough, then squeeze them until they break. Your husband was probably just the latest target. Samantha's phone chimed. She read the message, her face paling. Chloe's friend's mom just called. Someone's been parked outside their house for an hour. Dark SUV, tinted windows. My blood ran cold. Mark's people? Torres was already heading for the door. I'll check it out. Mrs. Carter, pack a bag. You and your family need to leave, now. We're not running, Samantha protested. This is our home. It's not about the house anymore, I said, understanding finally settling in my chest like lead. Ryan's debt is Mark's leverage. As long as we're here, we're all targets. I walked to the living room window, staring out at the garden where Mom's roses once bloomed. The property deed sat in my purse, heavy with possibilities. An idea formed? Dangerous, maybe stupid, but possible. Torres, I called. How much would it cost to hire those construction workers back at their full salary? He frowned. With benefits? Close to what Ryan owes. Why? I pulled out the deed. Because this house is worth twice that. Amelia, no. Samantha grabbed my arm. Mom and Dad would want us alive more than they'd want us keeping their house. I turned to Torres. If I sell, could you help set up a legitimate company? Hire Ryan's workers before Johnson can exploit them? He studied me for a long moment. It's risky. Johnson won't take kindly to losing his leverage. Good. The word came out sharper than I intended. Let him feel what it's like to have something taken away. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Smart move getting Ryan arrested. Let's discuss terms. Meet tomorrow, 2 p.m., Red Door Bar. I showed Torres the message. He shook his head. It's a trap. Of course it is. I looked at Samantha, then back at our parents' house, the home that held all our memories, all our love, all our pain. But it's also an opportunity. To do what? Samantha asked. I thought of Ryan in the police car, of Mark Johnson's threats, of 48 families about to lose everything, of our parents who taught us that home wasn't just about walls and windows. It was about protecting the people you love. To end this, I said, on our terms. The house creaked in the evening wind, as if agreeing with my decision. Tomorrow, I'd meet with Mark Johnson. But first, I had some calls to make and a plan to set in motion. Ryan might have gambled away our future, but I was about to bet everything on one last play of my own. The divorce papers felt heavier than they should as I placed them on our kitchen counter. Dawn barely touched the windows, and Ryan wouldn't be home from the police station for hours. Perfect timing for what needed to be done. My phone buzzed. Torres. Mark Johnson's at the Red Door Bar, meeting with Ryan's crew now. I typed back. All of them. Most, offering 30% less than promised. They're desperate. Of course they were. That's how Mark operated. Create desperation, then exploit it. Just like he'd done with Ryan. The front door creaked. I spun around to find Samantha in the doorway, holding a cardboard box. Thought you might need help packing. I told you to stay at the house with Chloe. Torres has 2 guys watching her at school. She set the box down. Besides, you shouldn't be alone right now. My fingers traced the edge of the divorce papers. Did you know Dad suspected something about Mark Johnson years ago? What? I pulled out an old letter I'd found in Dad's desk drawer last night. He wrote this to Ryan, never sent it, warning him about Mark's investment opportunities. Said he'd seen too many good men ruined by easy money. Dad always could read people. Samantha started opening kitchen drawers. What do you want to take? Before I could answer, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered on speaker. Mrs. Carter, Mark Johnson's voice filled the kitchen. Hope you don't mind me calling. Ryan shared your number ages ago. Samantha froze, drawer half open. What do you want, Mark? To help. Ryan's crew is here with me now. Good people, desperate for work. I'm offering them a lifeline. You mean exploitation? He chuckled. Such hostility. Tell you what, sell me the house directly. I'll pay market value, hire the crew at their original wages, and forget Ryan's debt. Everyone wins. Except me and my family. Better than everyone losing? You have 1 hour to decide. After that, I start making calls. Did you know most construction companies check criminal records? Hard to get hired with the assault charge, even a pending one. The line went dead. Samantha gripped the counter. He can't do that. Ryan was arrested for... Doesn't matter. The charge alone would destroy those families. I picked up the divorce papers, then set them down again. Get Torres on the phone. I need to know exactly how much evidence he has on Mark's operation. What are you thinking? I walked to the window, watching the sunrise paint our neighborhood gold. The same view Ryan and I had shared for 12 years, planning futures that now felt like fiction. Remember when Dad caught us sneaking out to that concert? How he made us clean the entire house instead of grounding us? Yeah, said consequences should build something, not just punish. My phone buzzed again, a text from one of Ryan's workers. Mrs. C, we're stalling Mark best we can, but people are starting to sign. We got families to feed. Another buzz. Torres. Evidence collected. Ready when you are. The plan crystallized in my mind, sharp and clear as broken glass. Call Torres, I said, grabbing my keys. Tell him to meet me at the Red Door bar with everything he has on Mark. Then call Ryan's crew. Tell them not to sign anything. What about the divorce papers? I looked at them one last time. Leave them. Some consequences need to wait. Samantha caught my arm. What are you going to do? I thought of Dad's letter, of Ryan in the police car, of 48 families about to lose everything, of Mark Johnson sitting in that bar, thinking he had all the power. I'm going to build something, I said, heading for the door. Just not what Mark expects. Behind me, the divorce papers waited on the counter, a promise of endings. But first, I had another promise to keep, to the memory of a father who taught us that true justice wasn't about destroying lives. It was about saving them. The Red Door bar reeked of stale beer and broken promises. Mark Johnson sat at his usual corner table, surrounded by Ryan's construction crew. Their faces were drawn, papers scattered across the table like surrender flags. Torres waited outside with his evidence, but now, seeing Mark's smug smile, I wondered if we were already too late. Mrs. Carter, Mark called out, just in time to watch your husband's legacy crumble. I walked past the crew members, catching their apologetic glances. Pete Martinez, who'd worked with Ryan for 15 years, couldn't meet my eyes. His signature was already on Mark's contract. How many have signed? I asked, remaining standing. Enough, Mark gestured to an empty chair. But we can still make this easy. Sign over the house, everyone keeps their jobs. Even Ryan gets a clean slate. The bar's door opened. Ryan stepped in, still wearing yesterday's clothes, dark circles under his eyes. The crew fell silent. Amelia? His voice cracked. What are you doing here? Cleaning up your mess. I pulled out my phone, sending Torres the signal. One last time. Mark's smile widened. Touching, but unless you're here to sign... Actually, I cut him off. I'm here to make a counteroffer. I turned to the crew. How many of you would rather work for me? Ryan stepped closer. What are you talking about? Carter Construction is worthless now, Mark said, thanks to your husband's indiscretions. True. I met his gaze. But Carter Blake Construction isn't. The bar's door opened again. Torres walked in with 2 police officers and a stack of files. Behind them came Samantha, carrying in corporation papers. Mark's smile faltered. What is this? Evidence, Torres said, dropping the files on the table. Of loan sharking, extortion, and fraud. Enough to put you away for years. You're bluffing. Try me. I pulled out my own stack of papers. Or we can make a deal. Sign over your contracts to the new company. Carter Blake Construction, release Ryan's debt, walk away. Mark laughed, but it sounded hollow. Or what? Or these files go to the DA, along with testimony from everyone you've destroyed over the years. Torres has been busy. Ryan grabbed my arm. You can't. I jerked away from him. I already did. The house is sold to Carter Blake Construction. The crew gets their jobs back with shares in the company. I turned to the workers. If you want them. Pete stood up first, tearing his contract in half. Others followed, hope replacing resignation in their eyes. Mark's face darkened. You stupid bit. Choose your next words carefully, Torres warned, hand resting on his badge. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Mark stared at the evidence files, at the officers, at the crew members now standing behind me. Finally, he reached for his pen. You'll regret this, he said, signing the transfer papers. No. I watched him scrawl his signature. I won't. As Mark stormed out, Ryan touched my shoulder. I'm sorry, I never meant... Don't. I shrugged off his hand. The divorce papers are on the counter. Sign them. Please, we can fix this. Like you fixed everything else? I turned to face him, 12 years of love and lies crystallizing into this moment. You didn't just gamble away our money, Ryan. You gambled with people's lives, their families, their futures. I was trying to protect them. No, you were protecting yourself. I handed him a pen. Now I'm protecting everyone else. The crew watched in silence as Ryan signed the papers, his hands shaking. When he finished, he looked up with tears in his eyes. What happens now? I thought of our parents' house, of Samantha and Chloe, of all the families depending on this moment, of everything I'd lost and found in the past week. Now? I took the signed papers, feeling their weight. Now I build something new, without you. I walked out of the Red Door bar into the morning sun, leaving behind the wreckage of one life and the blueprints of another. It wasn't revenge exactly. Dad would have called it justice with purpose. I called it starting over. 3 weeks after the Red Door bar showdown, I found Ryan waiting in our parents' driveway. He leaned against his truck, holding a manila envelope, looking more haunted than I'd ever seen him. You need to see this, he said, holding out the envelope. I kept my distance. The divorce is final, Ryan, whatever this is. It's about Mark. His hand shook. He's not done with us. A chill ran through me despite the summer heat. Inside the house, I could see Samantha watching through the window, phone in hand. I took the envelope. Inside were screenshots of online gambling transactions, hundreds of them, all under my name. He's framing me, I said, the pieces clicking together. No. Ryan's voice cracked. He made me do it, said he'd hurt you if I didn't. I've been using your identity for months. The world tilted sideways. Every victory from the Red Door bar turned to ash in my mouth. How much? Almost $500,000. Samantha appeared at my side, Torres's number already dialed. But before she could press call, a black SUV pulled up. Mark Johnson stepped out, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. Told you you'd regret crossing me? He held up his phone. One call, and these transactions go to the FBI. Financial fraud's a federal crime. You orchestrated this, I said. Insurance policy. Ryan was very cooperative once I explained what would happen to you if he wasn't. Ryan stepped forward. I'm sorry, Em. I thought I was protecting you. Always the hero, Mark laughed. Now, about those contracts you stole. Keep them. I pulled out my own phone, clicking play on a recording app. Ryan's confession echoed in the driveway. He made me do it, said he'd hurt you if I didn't. Mark's smile faltered. Torres has been monitoring all my devices since the bar, I said, waiting for exactly this moment. You just admitted to blackmail and identity theft. You're bluffing? Check your phone. He did. His face went pale as he read Torres's text. Recording received. Units en route. You set me up, he snarled, reaching into his jacket. Ryan moved faster than I'd ever seen him, tackling Mark as the gun appeared. They hit the ground hard. The gun skittered across the driveway. I dove for it just as police sirens wailed in the distance. It's over, Mark, I said, holding the gun steady. And this time, you're not walking away. He laughed, blood trickling from his split lip. You think this changes anything? You're still ruined. The gambling debts were traced to your IP addresses, Torres said, appearing with 2 officers, along with evidence of similar scams against other contractors. The FBI is very interested in your operation. As the officers cuffed Mark, Ryan stood up slowly. I know I can't fix this, but... Stop. I handed the gun to Torres. You're right, you can't fix this, but you can testify against him. What about the debts? They're not mine. Torres has proof they're fraudulent. I looked at the house, our parents' legacy, now transformed into something new. The company's doing well, the crew's taken care of. That's what matters. And us? Samantha appeared with Chloe, who carried a set of blueprints, her design for the garden renovation we'd been planning. There is no us anymore, I said, but there is still a family to protect. Your choice if you want to help make things right. Mark shouted threats as the officers led him away, but his voice faded beneath the sound of Chloe explaining her garden plans, of Samantha calling the crew about tomorrow's projects, of life moving forward. Ryan nodded slowly, understanding finally crossing his face. I'll testify, whatever you need. Good. I turned away from him, toward my sister and niece, toward the home we were rebuilding together. Because this time, we're doing things my way. The police cars pulled away, taking Mark's threats and Ryan's mistakes with them. What remained was stronger than revenge. It was redemption, built one brick at a time. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint and new beginnings through our parents' garden. Chloe's renovation design had transformed the space, with Mom's favorite roses now sharing soil with vegetables and herbs. A perfect blend of memory and possibility. Pete Martinez adjusted the new company sign on the front gate. Carter Blake Construction, building legacy homes. Your folks would have loved this, he said, stepping back to admire his work. Inside, Samantha sorted through construction permits at Mom's old desk while I reviewed crew assignments. Mark Johnson's trial was set for next month, with Ryan's testimony as the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. The crew members he'd tried to destroy would now help ensure his conviction. The doorbell rang. Torres stood on the porch, holding a familiar cardboard box. Last of the evidence files, he said, setting it down. Thought you might want to know. Ryan checked into rehab yesterday, gambling addiction program. His choice? Part of his plea deal, but he seemed different. Said something about building things back up instead of tearing them down. I nodded, thinking of Dad's undelivered letter. Sometimes the best revenge is proving them wrong about who you are. Torres smiled. Speaking of proof, your crew's first project starts tomorrow, renovating the women's shelter on 5th Street. Not very profitable, Samantha called from inside. No, I agreed. But Dad always said good work builds more than just houses. As Torres left, Chloe burst through the front door, waving a paper. Aunt Em, look what I found in Grandpa's old toolbox. It was a photograph I'd never seen before, Dad teaching me and Samantha how to use his level. All three of us laughing as the bubble refused to center. On the back, he'd written, "The foundation matters most. Everything else can be fixed." Can we hang it in the office? Chloe asked. Perfect timing, Pete said, carrying in a frame. The crew pitched in. Thought you might want this for the wall, too. It was the original deed to the house, now transformed into Carter Blake Construction's first official document. Below it, every crew member had signed their names, not just signatures, but promises to build something better than what Mark and Ryan had tried to destroy. One more thing, Samantha said, pulling out an envelope. Remember that investment account Dad started for us? The one Mom always said was for emergencies? She handed me the statement. The balance was exactly what we needed to start a training program for women in construction. Mom would have called this an emergency, Samantha said, helping people rebuild their lives. The front door opened again as crew members began arriving for our first official company meeting. They filled the house with purpose and possibility, transforming our childhood home into something bigger than revenge or redemption. Ready for this? Samantha asked. Through the window, I watched Pete showing Chloe how to use Dad's old level, their laughter echoing across the garden. Behind them, the roses Mom planted decades ago bloomed alongside Chloe's new vegetables. Proof that legacy doesn't just survive change, it grows stronger because of it. You know what Dad used to say about measuring twice? Samantha smiled. And building once. I think we're measuring just right. The crew gathered in what used to be our living room, now our company's heart. Tomorrow we'd start building something new. Not just houses or shelters, but second chances. The kind that grow from solid foundations and survive any storm. I picked up Dad's level, feeling its familiar weight. The bubble finally centered, steady and true, pointing toward whatever came next. Not an ending, really, just a different kind of beginning. One built to last,